You ever watch those traveling do's and don'ts for going to Japan? You know the ones. They'll interview locals asking them what gaijin should and shouldn't do when they enter the country, and they're always really pretty much the same answers. The typical stuff. Don't talk on the train. Take your shoes off when you enter certain buildings. I've watched a lot of those, and every time I see a new one uploaded, I kind of just feel like it's repetitive, like they're going over the same stuff, different year. The rules never change, the answers never change, and what it really always boils down to is this. In Japan, there's a culture around not bothering others. So a good rule of thumb is, if what you're doing could be considered a nuisance to other people around you, chances are, it's probably something you shouldn't be doing in Japan, I guess. But anyways, just for laughs, I thought it'd be funny to make a tier list of all the don'ts and rank them from most offensive to least offensive. Now, I'm going to put a big fat disclaimer on this video. I am not Japanese, and I've only set foot in this country for about a month, so that's your warning to take what I say with a big fat grain of salt. With that being said, let's get into the video. Alright, so here we are on a random free tier list website. We have from S at the top of the list, the most offensive, with F being weak, least offensive, nobody cares. I have random pictures to represent each of these things, and I'll try my best to remember what each of them was when I dropped them in here. We'll start simple. We'll start pretty simple, alright? So this is one that there's a lot of misconceptions around from what I've gathered, and that is smoking. Now, a lot of people smoke in Japan. Now, I've noticed. So a lot of people don't know, like in places like Shibuya, there are designated smoking areas. You don't just smoke anywhere. So, with that being said, the grave offense of smoking, how bad is that on the scale? Put that squarely in the D tier of annoying. Now, I could be wrong. It could be between D and C, but I feel like no one's going to tell you not to do it. People will be very clearly irritated by your smoke. So I'd say D, or don't do it. So let's talk about chopstick etiquette. Now, you'll watch a lot of videos for the do's and don'ts of Japan and all the rules, and you'll hear a lot of stuff about table etiquette. Specifically, like, don't shove your chopsticks in your rice and leave them sticking out, because that's done at funerals, and it's a bad omen. It's not a good look. But here's a hot take. It's a spicy hot take. I don't think anybody will tell you that. I'm putting this in F tier. This is an F tier rule. Everyone says it, but nobody cares. I don't know about you, but I personally find it very hard to believe that your poor handling of chopsticks and table manners, if you're not doing something really extreme, like, I don't know, standing on the table and beating your chest and shouting your Godzilla.
Alright! Who wanted a large pepperoni? Coming up!
I put this in F tier. Nobody cares. Okay, so another one that you'll hear a lot of is talking on the train. Alright? There's a lot of rules about how you should behave while in public transit. Now, I think in the past, this used to be a big one, right? Like, huge deal. Everybody would look at you and be very irritated if you talk while on the train. However, it really just depends. You gotta read the room, alright? Like, if it's early in the morning, in the afternoon, yeah, keep your mouth shut, man. But as it gets later, I've noticed people become more chattier on the train. Not tourists, but actual locals. Like, people are just talking sometimes on the train, usually younger folks. But there was a really funny situation where an older gentleman was having a conversation with me because I was dressed as an anime character for anime reasons. In terms of how offensive talking on the train would be, it depends on how loud you are, you know? Honestly, I would put this in the C tier category. C. So on the topic of trains, when I was mentioning, like, what is annoying, what isn't annoying, let's talk about sitting on the train. If you're sitting on the train and you're taking up more seats, or you're spread eagle, you're taking up more space than you should, right? I think that is much higher than someone who's talking on the train, right? I feel like this is an A tier issue, right? This will piss people off. Like, people will be actually mad at you if you were taking up more than one space on the train. So when you go to any country, you know, you're gonna want to vlog and kind of show off what you're doing, right? This is for my live streaming homies out there. Now, I have some experience when it comes to live streaming. I'm no stranger to that. This ties in what I was saying earlier about there being a culture in Japan about not bothering others. And it's just a thing that people kind of like their privacy. So it's actually, believe it or not, against the law to film people without their permission. But kind of it's not as cut and dry as it sounds, right? Like, the rule of thumb, from what I've been told, is you want to limit people getting into your shot as much as possible. It becomes an issue when a stranger becomes the focus of your shot. So if you're just filming a random person walking down the street, that's a huge no. If you are filming yourself and some people get into the background, then that's not so bad. You can just censor their faces. But if you're deliberately trying to get them into your shot, you kind of cross the line there. And honestly, it's a bit rude depending on where you are. In terms of the annoyance scale, I think the chances of somebody talking to you about live streaming outside of filming in a place where you're not supposed to, which has happened to me a fair couple of times. I've misread signs and misunderstood that I'm not supposed to record in a few places. It happens. It's no big deal. I think outside of those situations, no one's going to approach you and say, hey, don't record me. That being said, I still think it ranks pretty high on the annoyance scale. Honestly, I'd put this as a D tier offense. All right. I feel like some people will be annoyed by it, but no one's going to say anything to you about it unless you're filming someplace where you definitely shouldn't be. And a good rule of thumb for those that are wondering, you want to know if it's safe to film someplace in public in Japan, just think about it like this. If you're in a public place like Shibuya or, I don't know, any other popular location, Shinjuku, Harajuku, someplace where there's lots of people, then you're probably fine. Because there's so many people that it's really hard to like single out a single person. There's large groups of people. They aren't the focus of the shot. But generally, as a tourist, you probably will get a free pass. Okay, so I've seen videos that talk about this all the time. And they said nobody dare crosses the street before the light says so. Even at night when there's no traffic, no one does this. That is a lie. I've seen multiple people cross the street when there was no cars coming, and even seen some people almost get hit by cars. Generally speaking, I would say be careful. All right, you're in another country. You don't want to get isekai'd walking around in Japan. You don't want to mess around and end up in an anime, right? But in terms of people getting mad if they see you do it, I think nobody cares. Littering. We're going to call this littering. Okay, so listen. Generally speaking, Japan's a pretty clean place, except for Shibuya at the certain hours. But all in all, you won't see a lot of garbage, and people are pretty good about keeping it clean. I haven't seen anyone do it, but I reckon if you just like dropped your garbage on the side of the street anywhere in Tokyo and someone saw you do it, it's going to be an A tier offense. It's going to piss them off. That's really going to piss them off. Walking loudly in general, all right? Being out and about when you're outside, if you're talking too loud, then that would be considered a nuisance to other people. So generally, a lot of people try to keep their voices down when they're out in public, when they're out and about. Think about it like this. When you're outside, use your inside voice. Now, in terms of how offensive talking too loudly in public can be, I think that depends on how loud you are, how rowdy you are, and the context of where you are. Is it late night, Shibuya, people partying, or is it early in the morning, residential area? Use your common sense, right? I don't think anyone's going to call you out on it. This is an E tier. I think someone's going to look at you, but no one's going to say anything. Walking while eating. Now, you hear this one a lot. Every list video, every do and don't video has this somewhere on it. Doesn't matter what year it was made. I bet you someone's making one right now and they have this on. And the general idea is that it's seen as dirty to eat and walk. Like, you're going to litter. It's seen as unclean. I feel like nobody's going to press you on that. If you went to the vending machine and grabbed a drink and you walk and you drink it, all right, I'll let you say, I'll inch it up a little bit. I'll inch it slightly into the E tier, right? I don't think anyone's going to say anything. Anyone's going to bother with you. Anyone's going to care. At least from what I have observed. Taking pictures of people without their consent, specifically schoolgirls. Why would you do this?
制服学校の制服着てたら、外国人写真撮っていいですかって、制服可愛いから、みたいに、写真撮っていいですかって言われて、でもその子嫌だったから、ノーって言ったのに、無理やり写真撮られたり。
It's generally a good idea to not take pictures of schoolgirls in any country. Japan's no exception to that. It's just not a good idea. That's creepy. That is S tier offense. You will go to jail. In fact, let's just take the S, right? And make it J for jail. Because that's where you'll end up if you get caught doing that shit. Don't do that shit. Well, everyone, that was the video. To the 5 people, 5's being generous. To the 2 people who've watched this video all the way through, thank you. And that's kind of all I wanted to say anyways. So, yeah.